SEO tools. Google SEO and analytics, there's a lot of different tracking mechanisms in place through Google reporting. So one of the best things is Google Analytics. It's free. Google offers this stuff. You can track things like your site traffic, how many sessions were created on your website, how many pages were viewed, the average time that actually someone spent on a site can be tracked there as well. These are very simple things that you can implement right now that are free that give you important data to manage and measure. You know, how many people came to the site or wet landing page because of laser skin resurfacing or because of this page on your website. These are just offerings that are provided that through Google Analytics, you can kind of understand some engagements, web hits, and average times on the site. Now, Google tools for SEO continued is Google AdWords. Google AdWords is great because there's a lot of free tools where you can actually literally track your paid ad campaigns, understand the demographic, you can manage how many clicks, how many conversions, how much did you get from this. It's very, very important to manage it to track your paid search campaigns. So Google AdWords and Google in general has a lot of free tools that you can do that, and I'm sure that you guys are using some of this already. But here's some interesting statistics. 80% of future and existing patients are researching online. 80%, that is a huge percentage. We understand that we are in a fully connected world online, completely. 80% of your future and existing patients are researching for everything online. They want to know, they want to do, they want to experience things online, and they want to buy, all from the comfort of their device. 76% of the social patients visit 2 or more practices online. So we are in retail. Social patients are fully engaged. They are all over the map online. They are on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Pinterest, they're everywhere. We are in a fully socially integrated atmosphere online. It's an ecosystem now, and there's multiple micro moments that you have to manage and have a process for. Micro moments, and we'll get into this a little bit more, is that micro moments are all of those points in time that a person goes online, where it's through Facebook or LinkedIn or Pinterest. It's no longer enough just to have a website, which is what we're talking about today, but social patients, they're connected, they're all over the place, and we've got to lead them somewhere. So 76% of the social patients visit 2 or more practices online. They're shopping, they're wanting to buy, they want price comparisons, and you need to be aggressive with your content and aggressive with your website to traffic the user to the place where you want them to go. And lastly, 65% of all searches are done on mobile devices. So guys, think about this, right? And I know that you understand how this works in the type of world we live in. But people are literally buying products 24/7 on their phones, in their bed, in their Christmas pajamas. And that includes Botox, fillers, Juvederm, and being educated about services and procedures in the modern medicine and practices today. So we've got to compete in that same space. Now, what is the social patient, right? Welcome to the social patient. These people have an incredibly low attention span. They want what they want now. They want to go where they want to go, period. They are the experts in everything. They just want and have 24/7 connectivity. You've got higher expectations. You've got to wow them. You've got to capture their attention. You've got to do it through multiple micro moments. Facebook, email, blogging, SEO, map cleanups. There's an entire ecosystem now that exists layered into the website, not just the website, but layered all around it to point that user to go to your site and to do business with you. Because the social patient is like the ADD patient of the internet. They are all over the place. You've got to take them by the hand. You've got to point them in a direction and get them to your site to convert at the highest level. We are a fully connected world, and the social patient needs to be guided. So let me ask you a $1 million question. When was the last time you visited your website and actually went through the process of contacting the practice? This is actually kind of a fun exercise when we go to conferences. It'd be really fun to do if we actually were literally at a conference. And I've asked this question at a trade show to a doctor while I was having a nice little chat. And so when's the last time you actually, when you were on vacation, called your practice and got a sense of how that phone process was handled? It's amazing stuff when we start to think outside of the business and think like a consultant, rather than thinking in it, but thinking outside of it. But in terms of your website, when was the last time you visited and actually just find what you get? What's the process? Can people get to me quickly? Is there a disconnect between my web form process when someone fills out a web form online? Do people engage with it right away? Are the phone numbers on my website in clear view? Are there too many things in the way between, content and click-throughs and text message boxes that are in the way of engagement between the practice, the staff, and the consumer? A good website knows how to remove those clutter points and to point them in the right direction. Now, the billion-dollar question is, what is the primary purpose of your website? That's a billion-dollar question, and here it is. I'm going to define this, and we'll get certified and a profitable website right now. It's conversion of unique visitors that actually fill out a form online and actually call your practice, period. End of story. There's no more webinar. This whole thing can shut down right now, and we've done the job. This is the billion-dollar question. This is all that matters, because it doesn't matter if you have a beautiful, sexy website that costs you 10 grand. At the end of the day, we have to track, manage, and measure how many forms do we get that were filled out and how many phone calls actually came to the practice, period. And now the last question to set up our time here is, what is the most important component of a successful website? And it might be a little bit different than what you're thinking. It's not design, it's not feelings, it's actually you. It's your people, it's your processes, and your tools. And do you believe that? Because if you truly believe that your website and the process is about the people that are actually at that front desk, taking the phone calls, doing everything that's necessary to convert those phone calls and forms, if you really believe that, then behavior will follow. And we believe in a simple formula. This is just simple golden rule principles, right? If you truly believe that your website is about conversion, your attitude will actually push you into a place that will directly result in actions. Actions produce results. So imagine if everybody in your organization believed that your website was completely about conversion, not just about design, not just about feelings, not just about, subjective opinions. It's actually about results. And if we believe that, these things will follow. You see, in this industry, especially as I talk to doctors, digital marketing is not rocket science. Everybody can kind of put together some kind of a campaign by calling a website company and pulling in a social media representative that can do all these components in an okay fashion. But it's not a deficiency of knowledge on behalf of the doctor, or the practice. It's actually a deficiency of execution. There's no way on earth that a practice left to itself can execute everything that's necessary to convert and retain patients at the highest level. So let's just look at what needs to be executed. Now, this is what we really believe. In terms of execution, everybody should have in place a very specific intake process to convert digital leads at the highest level and in the most efficient way that syncs together three groups of people. And what do I mean by that? So website submission process should look like this. You should have a really beautifully done website, right? Something that's clean, it's refreshing. There's nothing in the way between you and the consumer. There shouldn't be 5 click-throughs and text message boxes and things that are in the way between getting what exactly that you need. They need to call you, and they should fill out a web form. It's pretty simple, right? If people are searching for you, if you have really good search engine optimization, and you've done a good job at writing content or doing paid ad campaigns, and a miracle happens that a person actually fills out a form or calls you on your site, which is a miracle if you think about the digital marketing atmosphere and how many options people have, you did the job. We got them there. Now the question becomes, what actually happens when someone fills out a form or calls you? These are the 3 things that should happen and should be executed without fail, because you've got a higher retention rate and capture rate of that new lead if you respond to this form within the first 60 seconds, if not 30 seconds, of the point of inquiry. So here's the 3 things that should happen. You should have a way that someone in the office can actually get an opportunity right away to their cell phone the second that gets filled out. So in the practice, they've got a way to connect. You should also have a software or some kind of a tracking tool in place that captures that lead and pushes it to a software so nobody loses it, and you can follow up and move them through sales statuses. from a new opportunity to considering a consultation to schedule the consultation to check in. We want to move them through processes of the sale. And then lastly, you should have an automated email so that the second that they click send, they get an email on behalf of your practice in an automated fashion that thanks them for reaching out to you online, and you'll have a higher conversion rate and capture rate of lead conversion if you set these three things up. So who is this between? So your website now is operating as like a virtual medical office between three types of people: the practice, the patient, and a software. All powerful stuff. We found that the best practices execute that, and their lead generation grows. It's exponential because they're doing this in an automated fashion. There's a clear process from the website to capture leads. Now, in addition, the best practices have discovered an effective website can impact the following areas of the practice. So per patient revenue, think about this for a minute. Per patient revenue, your website has a massive impact on how it is that you get revenue. We hear this all the time at Crystal Clear. So we deal with about 400 practices throughout 4 different countries, all different types of practice, whether it be dermatological, if it's plastic surgery, med spas, dental, all different hybrids of med spas essentially. So, but if your website could actually make you money, what would that look like? All the best practices understand this. All the best practices have a very clear process of conversion. Not only does it affect per patient value and per patient profitability, it actually, a good website can impact retention. It'll actually help you not only find new patients, but keep and retain your existing ones. Referrals, your website, you should have a process in place where you're actually getting every single review and all of that content to be indexed and ranked and optimized so that if anybody searches for your practice reviews, your website URL should be found in the search criteria first, rather than other third parties. It's not that it's bad that third parties find you first, it's just that how do you want to direct that user that in the dark hours of the night, in the busiest time of retail, they're shopping, they're searching, they're asking their relatives as to who to get a procedure done by, and the first thing that they do is go online. And the first thing that they do is find that bad review on Yelp because that's the first thing that came up. If you don't have a clean reputation, you're going to lose engagement because people are going to make a buying decision on one bad apple or one bad review rather than, the 20 or 30 positive reviews that are out there. But we've got to direct them. Your website can have a massive effect on the way in which people are finding you and your referrals, and you've got to have a clear process and a path for that to lead people to. An effective website can also impact new opportunities. How does your website look? Is it clean? Is it refreshing? Is it easy to use? Is it too content heavy? A lot of things to consider when creating a good website. Regardless of what you may feel or think or have you noticed about your site, data and design have to be married. You can't just have a website that looks pretty. It's got to function well, right? It has to have an aesthetically pleasing look. But at the end of the day, it's really all about getting new opportunities, getting people's names, emails, direct phone calls. So best practices have really discovered that an effective website is also about getting new opportunities and having a very clear way of building their database rather than just looking good. Lead conversion, this is huge. Lead conversion is a bit different than new opportunity because you can get 1,000 hits to your website, but again, what did that translate into? How do I know how many scheduled consultations came into my practice because of my site, because of my specific landing pages? Got to have a way to track that, and the best practices know how to really zero that down and have a process for that. And last but not least, an effective website can impact all of your team's performance. Imagine that your website, what you believe about your website, how you set up your website, the process of your website would actually affect how it is that your team operates. It's amazing stuff. Very, very important stuff. So in terms of just website design overall, here's just a few takeaways, a few things that we know that has to happen, has to be engaged, and has to be executed on your website. It has to be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, no way around this anymore. Google has a policy and a program called Mobile First Initiative that you have to set up your site mobile responsive. It has to be done that way. The user experience for every single online presence, every single URL and domain name has got to be mobile friendly. Number 2, Conversion primary has to be the objective. Your site has to have a way for visitors to contact you via phone call or email. It's got to be prominently displayed on not only the main page, but on every single one of your pages. That's a pretty common error in design, is that they basically make a form to fill out on the contact page. We believe, and we see our best practices convert at a much higher rate when it's on your before and after galleries page, when it's on a separate landing page about facial resurfacing, when it's found on a Facebook ad that we put and we redirect them to the website. It's got to be found everywhere, because you're capturing leads not just to and from the website. You're actually trying to capture leads for just each service and procedure. So if you go to your services part of your website and then you go to facial resurfacing, on that landing page, do you have a separate way to capture that specific lead for that specific procedure that ties them back to that content? It's got to be everywhere. So as you start to build leads, you want to start to segment those leads out based on content, separate pages, and having that all throughout the site, not just on a main page or a contact page. Number 3, include a list of all services and treatments and procedures offered by the practice. That's huge. It's a very, very big thing. Number 4, before and after galleries are important and should be of your actual patients. That's also a very personal and effective way to get people to stay on your site with the before and after gallery engagement on your site. You don't want people to just go to Pinterest and leave and stay on, social pages. Before and after galleries are a great way for people to actually stay on your site, stay engaged, and remain on that content and convert. And lastly, regular updates, including blogging and specials, are incredibly essential and have been a proven way to not only engage new patients on social media for our clients, but blogging is an incredible strategy that still can work, does work, and you should implement. The problem is, who has time to keep up with writing anywhere between 2 to 4 blogs per month and keep that frequent and consistent, right? So that's the problem of execution. So either, search out a really good content writer that you can trust, someone that's writing unique content to your practice, that doesn't copy and paste content to your website. You do not want that. It's got to be original content, it's got to be unique, and it's got to be frequent and consistently posted and active and executed. So mobile responsive tests, just a quick little heads up on if your mobile site is responsive or not, if your website is mobile responsive or friendly. If you pull up your site on a phone or on an iPad, and if you have to pinch and scroll and form submissions can't come up properly, if images are all messed up and everything's not refreshing and automatically sizing, it's willing to bet my life that it's not a mobile responsive or friendly site. And it has to be that way, guys, because, again, according to statistics, 62% of people are searching and buying online on their phones. So we have to have an experience in an environment where people can learn more about this ad right from their phone and not break engagement. If they want to call you, they can click right on the phone number in their phone and call you. They need to be able to look at every single before and after gallery, look at every single special, and everything should resize and refit into that mobile responsive system and layout. Now here's conversion 101. Let's make it easy to contact your practice. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward and simple, right? And you guys are probably all like, well, tell me something I didn't know. But you cannot imagine how many stumbling blocks that we see and still notice that practices have in the way of their patients as they search for you online. If it's a little text windows or little special pop-ups, you want to remove the amount of stumbling blocks or speed bumps on the highway for them to literally go to your site, fill out a form, and call you. That's the only reason that your website exists. Because the assumption is, if people are searching for you and you've done really good SEO, search engine optimization, that you've written really good content, the assumption is people are searching for stuff in your local area, hopefully searching for your services and procedures that they can find you in. They're already coming to your website with the assumption that they want to buy from you. The question becomes, is your site set up to convert in a way that takes that lead and gets what you need right away, their information? And 6 times out of 10, the practice, whether it be on the phone or on the website, is not taking that information in a way that converts at the highest rate, retains at the highest rate, and really does a process that actually converts at the highest level. Contact information is prominent on all pages, like I mentioned. It should be listed everywhere. Landing page creation best practices. So let's jump into this. in terms of your website, you've got to set up separate landing pages that have a specific call to action for service-specific landing pages. The content has to be unique, created consistent with SEO best practices in mind. You should be able to manage expectations on your website through positive, understandable language. So as you think about your content, this landing page really is its own entity. It's its own sales language. You're educating the buyer, managing expectations. Even if you can include it in a video, just something that engaged their attention, kept them there, highlighting the benefits as well as realistic recovery time, having a prominent display of phone number and specific call to action. That is an incredible recipe just for one service to start to market that procedure uniquely, strategically, and effectively. Because it's no longer effective to just advertise just your entire website or share just your website with people. You're sharing your services. You're marketing these all the time. And if you do these simple things and optimize each page based on your services and procedures this way, you're going to get a lot more hits to your site and to these pages based on people that are searching for these things in your local area. Before and after galleries, they should be easy to search. They shouldn't be, again, stock footage or stock photos. That kind of shows a, non-genuine approach to your practice. Should be easy to search, easy to navigate, and easy to index. Should be uniform background. The lighting should be crystal clear on those pictures. It should be uniform in terms of your pictures. I mean, iPhones are pretty amazing these days. You can take an amazing picture with an iPhone. As long as you have a strategic place in your practice, that you're taking photos, that you're doing it all the time, it really helps out to create a uniform look if you're doing that on your own. If you guys are having trouble with building before and after galleries, we can absolutely help you with that. Crystal Clear can help you with all of these things. But there's a lot of different tools out there that you can use as well. I mean, Pinterest, just as a social platform, Pinterest is a great platform to post pictures and to post engagement of before and after. But the point is to get them to your site so that they stay there and they actually convert and fill out a form. Your before and after gallery should be clickable. You have the ability to scroll through multiple different types of patients that you've done work on and show the before and after and the success on those. Segment, all these by procedure and place on all treatment promotional pages. So if you've got, one face procedure, you can show face pictures. It's pretty self-explanatory. But setting this stuff up, guys, makes a huge difference in engagement and conversion to keeping them on your site. Now, the next thing is reviews. I'm sure that you guys are very familiar with and probably have a process already. Crystal Clear has a unique software process that we actually create an entire review group. That's an automated email marketing campaign that goes out to the entire database. They're literally added. So we add what's called a review request group. They're added into the Get Reviews group, and an email goes out to the entire database and to the entire email address of the prospect of the patient. Once that goes out, they get one of two emails asking to leave a review. If they click on this email, they're literally trafficked to the practice's directory and their map location, which pushes that review to a Google 5-star review. Pretty simple and easy. So that patient is filling out a review on behalf of your practice and goes straight to a Google 5-star review system and process. The second way is we want to optimize that review to your website. So once that email goes out to your database, we have the ability to optimize that content. The patient can go in. It's a place on the website. We're asking them to fill that out. They give a review. They say, all right, 4 stars, 5 stars. They have to submit that review to your practice. Once the practice reviews it and approves it, it'll go straight to your website and then gets optimized for search engine content. If anybody searches for XYZ, your practice reviews as our client, we actually push that to the site, which is amazing. So that's the best way to get reviews. You want to own that review. You want to control that process and have a way in which you gather them and execute them. A huge part of reviews is having the ability to have a tool to get people to check in. We highly recommend this. A platform that you can check in the patients right at the front desk, right when they check in, take a survey in the practice, and then even as they're leaving, one of the best times to actually ask someone for a review is right when they're finished with the consultation. Hey, would you mind just leaving a review before you leave today? Your feedback is valuable, and we'd love to get that information. Once you get that information in-house, we can push it to the website, optimize that content, Now, if you have one negative review on any third party, it takes 15 positive reviews online from your site optimized to combat one negative review. Now, at least you have a process to manage your reputation and to manage those reviews. Cool? Sounds good? Good. I'm sure you guys are with me. I'm sure you are. Here we go. So video integration to increase conversion. We have practice overviews that we strongly recommend that you guys can use, that they're content-driven. They'll highlight the value proposition of the practice. You know, what makes you unique? What makes you different than your competitors? You know, these are just content-driven videos. There's, you know, nothing, it's not like a documentary. You don't need to have a video camera crew. You just need to have someone that can really build a good content-driven video that's actually telling the value proposition of your practice. There's a clear call to action next to it. And brief tour of the facility to set expectations for patient visit is also a great idea to do. And we've seen a lot of doctors have success with that as well. Another important tip on your website, instead of just posting a video that's kind of a free-standing video, you should also include the content, literally the text of that video explaining it, because you actually can't optimize a video for SEO. But you can actually optimize written content. So under that website video, on your website, explain the video. Who's a good candidate for facial rejuvenation? Who's a good candidate for Botox and fillers? And explain it. Then you can optimize that content as it lines up with that video and as you market that offering and value. So these are the different types of videos. This one being the content-driven one, explains the procedure. This one being a little bit more in-depth. This is a Mariposa Med Spa. She does a really great job at doing both really personal videos that are really personal to the patient, face-to-face, almost like a consultation. And I'm sure you've seen these before. They're very effective, but serve a different purpose. This purpose is about content, value proposition, whether it be about the practice or about the specific service and procedure. So whether it be you're explaining the service and procedure, explaining the value of the practice and what differentiates you, or giving an up-close and personal interview about that procedure, all of these are incredibly important to drive traffic to the site. It's all part of the breadcrumb trail to get people to call you and to fill out a form that have clear calls to action. That's the entire purpose of these media. Now let's look at the case study. Let's transition to this. So this is an astonishing case study from an aesthetic practice that we actually started with. And so this is what we're looking at. So in 6 months, they had an initial budget of about $25K, an ongoing budget roughly of about $4,500 to $5,000 per month. So their website, they launched a brand new URL February 1st, 2015. Their grand opening date launch, they decided was going to be June 17th, 2015. Their first data analytic report was released on February 1st, tracking that month period in 2015. And then we showed them their last analytics report, March 1st to the 31st, 2017. Let's take a look. So right in February, 3 months before the actual practice was open, we always recommend before practice opens that you actually have a process to get patients in the door before the lights, camera, and action start, right? You don't want to be 3 to 6 months behind, so this is important. So we basically boiled down the report. It was 160 social media posts were made on that particular social media account. 4 blogs were posted, and custom video published to the site. The total reach for just Facebook that particular month, social impressions were about 1,900. And then the total unique website visitors, brand new visitors to that site, without even having an open practice, they weren't even kicking the doors down, lights weren't even on yet, they had 183 brand new hits to the site. Now their conversions, which by the way, conversion, digital conversion means how many hits did we get to the website, and then how many forms and phone calls did we get? That is conversion digitally on the site. So it's pretty good, right? You think about it. They didn't even open. They've got 9 brand new forms and phone calls. Hasn't even opened yet. Now they're engaging. They're open to the world, and they have a good start. The average website converts at about 1 to 2%. So this is 5% conversion rate, which is an awesome start. Now let's look at, March report in 2017. Time has passed. We're looking at a big difference in their campaign as they do this in the right way, and they've got a way to track this and organize it and make sure this is happening every single day. So 154 social posts went out. 4 blogs were posted on, created and executed on their behalf. Sent out about 11,000 emails, and then we boiled down the reach. So in a very short amount of time, social media reach went from about 1,800, 1,900 to 74,000 total impressions. It's only Facebook. And then from there, they had new website visitors of about 11,000, representing a 78.6 increase in their web hits. Now, the conversion is just amazing, because look at this. As a good new practice starting up with all these key elements in line with their website, their conversions, so they got 502 brand new forms and phone calls to their practice that month, representing about 145 increase in web traffic and total form conversion. It's amazing. So that site's conversion for the month was 4.5%. It's pretty amazing. Digital conversion. It's awesome stuff. Wouldn't you want to actually have a site that converts like that? Now the question becomes, every single one of us, the question becomes, out of our forms and phone calls that come in from any digital marketing efforts that we do, how many actually schedule the consultation? And that's really what matters in your ultimate conversion, right? Because ultimate conversion is about how many people actually paid me, how many people scheduled, how many people kept the appointment, how many people became a paying patient for life. And that's the stuff that we have to track. So let's just say out of this 502 people, if this was your practice, would you be excited about 500 brand new forms and phone calls that came in? Now let's just say you converted into scheduled consultation 10% of those brand new forms and phone calls. So let's just say you got 50 scheduled consultations that month. Out of those 50 scheduled consults, how many paid you? That is what every good website has to accomplish. And then as you get those leads and hits, do you have a process in place that you know without a shadow of a doubt, and your people and your processes and tools that they're converting at the highest rate possible? That's what a good marketing campaign in conjunction with your website's all about. So guys, that's it for our time. I'll leave you with that. Crystal clear, we obviously do have these tools. We do all of the things that we're talking about here today, and we'd love to have a deeper conversation with you on that. I'd love to have a deeper conversation. You can reach me via email. My email is right there. And we'd like to open up into questions right now as we wrap up our time today, and I look forward to that.
Great. Thank you so much, Corey. And we do have some questions from some of the attendees. And one, this is sort of two-part questions. I'll do one time. But somebody was asking, how can you track someone, or can you track someone who comes in and only spends 1 or 2 minutes on your site?
Yeah. So the unique thing about Crystal Clear in our software is that, so we're tracking 2 things. We're tracking phone calls and recording them and capturing them, because every single one of our clients' website and your websites really should have a unique tracking number that's embedded to the site. So when you're recording phone calls, you know how they found you, what they asked about, and what it is that they really need and what's the next step. But with our software, and even Google Analytics can track, the engagements as well in terms of pages, visits, and sessions created. And like I showed you in this presentation, Google Analytics can do that for you. But you really want to know, what did they click on? What page did they land on when they called me? Those are the things that a good software, our software, which is the Social Patient Center, we track everything that comes by way of that website. We can track on what's clicked, what pages they landed on, how many people came from Facebook to the website, how many people came from email to the website, how many people landed on specific landing pages for how long. All of that stuff needs to be tracked so that you can market specifically, not just, having an ambiguity in marketing. It has to be very specific. Nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes specific. So tracking that's important.
And now, if you are noticing that you have a lot of people coming to your site and then leaving the site without calling or signing up, they were asking, how can you determine why they aren't signing up or filling out a form when they come on?
Yeah, that's a good question. That comes down to recording the phone calls. So I highly recommend you guys looking into a company or a solution that can actually record those calls, because you're going to get a lot of information there that you wouldn't necessarily get if somebody just filled out a web form or just bounced off the site. Now, from a data perspective, we can actually get a lot of data and consumer behavior that allows us at Crystal Clear to market to someone in a very specific way. So if someone comes to the site and they click on Botox and a session is created, and we can listen to the phone call and piece these things together and give that proper information to market them strategically, But too often, the modern practice doesn't have all those tools. They actually don't have the tools to point that person in a direction and capture that lead. So it's important that you're capturing and recording the phone calls, that you have a software that's going to know exactly the lead source, where they landed on the page, and how to direct that user, and how to market them after they've hit the site in a very specific way.
Okay, is there any way to try and get an understanding of the people who are visiting your site but are not calling your practice, to understand why they might not be?
So we're tracking, good tracking of a website, happens when people actually hit the site and understand, if you're talking about finding new patients, which that's what we're always talking about, right? Good search engine optimization does the job of getting someone to your web page for your top 12 to 20 services and procedures by writing good content that they find when they search for what they want. And then once they find that content, they're on your site. So if they're searching for Botox Rhode Island or Juvederm or Kybella in a specific area or cool sculpting, what comes up? It should be your business. It should be your landing pages. So that's how you're really going to win the search on finding new patients that are searching for your top services and offerings, get them to your site, get them to go there, and now we can track, manage, measure, analyze, and market accordingly. We've got to get them there. And there's multiple micro moments in the digital marketing ecosystem that we should be able to get them there. It's just tying it all together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now you had mentioned that when people are checking reviews, you want your practice website to rank first. And we're wondering, how do you get your website to rank first when someone's searching for reviews?
Yeah, great question. That's a really, really great question. So if you did even if everybody that's still listening on this call, if you just did a quick search in terms of you put in your practice name and then just write reviews, what's the first thing that you're going to see? Maybe you'll see some paid ads. Maybe you'll see some Yelp in those search criteria. Maybe you'll see like real patient ratings or real, whatever, review sources that come in lists. Where does your website reviews rank on that listing and search? It's very important to consider because we have to think in the minds of a patient. What does the patient find? So if you got someone that actually referred you, they never stepped foot in your practice, they got a referral from a friend or a trusted source, the first thing that they're going to do is go online and make a buying decision based on your review presence. So if Yelp comes up first and a negative review is found in that search criteria, what if they make a buying decision based on that one negative review when you've got like 30 or 40 positive ones, and we haven't had a process to manage that expectation through your digital presence? What we believe at Crystal Clear is that we want to rank all of those. Of course, we want to utilize Yelp. We want to utilize third parties. But at the end of the day, it's about getting that buyer or consumer and patient to look at your good reviews, to go to your website, to find your site first over any other criteria. And we still work with those parties to push those reviews to build that presence. But again, remember, this is about conversion. We don't want Yelp to have credit for your website hits. We want your web page to have credit and to be found first. And that's how it should be.
Perfect. And a little bit related to that, someone had a question about Yelp of what can you do if there is a negative review that is not true about your practice? Can you get it removed from Yelp? How can you address that?
Great question. So Yelp owns your content. They own that review. And even if someone goes to your Yelp profile and page, if a new patient finds your reviews on Yelp and they click on that little Yelp domain, they get credit for that web hit. So we want you as a practice to, number one, own that domain, own that content of your website, and own that review. And in addition, have a very clear process internally in the practice that we consult and train our doctors and staff to get it when they walk in the office, to get it when they're on the website, and to optimize it coming from your site, because it takes 15 positive reviews from your website, as long as we optimize it right, to actually combat one negative review on a third party. That's literally a Google policy. So if you have one negative review anywhere in a third-party source, it takes 15 times 5. If you have 5 negative reviews, you've got to get that much more content to actually optimize from your site, so that if users search for you and your XYZ practice reviews, that your website is optimized first over those other third parties.
Okay, and I would add, I'm not sure if this entirely relates to our question too, that one way to prevent negative reviews that we hear over and over again is through patient follow-up, so that if there are concerns or frustrations, your practice staff can address them before they end up online. And someone had a question here of how do we post a positive review on our own website?
Yep, so it's definitely good to get a tool. So the tool that I showed you, Crystal Clear, we can help you with optimizing and getting those reviews in a very efficient way. So you have to have a process in place that you're asking the question, hey, would you mind leaving us a review? And then actually posting it to your website. So if that's done through your web developer, again, we can do that for you. We'd love to have that conversation with you. Or you can use other third parties. Like, there's ZocDoc out there. There's other types of review systems and solutions. The point is, though, is that you don't want to necessarily depend on those as your primary impression online. Because, again, you don't want ZocDoc or review systems to actually get the ranking or credit for your review. You want your website to be found. So if anybody searches for your reviews, your website comes up, and then you can also manage those third parties as well in your digital presence.
Just a sort of curiosity, a follow-up to this one. If somebody or several people do leave very positive reviews through Yelp on their own, would it be acceptable for put those on their site to take them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, positive reviews are good, and and to balance things out, we can't avoid negative reviews, and negative reviews show us a lot about ourselves and our practice. How we respond to those negative reviews are important, and then also what our process is to get positive reviews to make sure that we're creating a very positive experience for buyers is the most important. We don't want one negative review to review your digital presence and ranking. So that's why we've got to have a very clear process to get those reviews internally in the practice, and then push it out to our website, and then push it out to third parties, and also work with third parties in addition to keep that presence clean. Crystal Clear does all of that, and I'd love to do that with you and actually have a deeper conversation.
Great, and that actually covers all the questions we had, and we are getting to the end of the time. I do want to remind everybody that we will be posting this full webinar up on our website at Metaesthetics Magazine/webinar. So if you want to share it, come back and review any part of it, you'll certainly be able to do that. It will be up within a couple of days. And we thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Corey, for the great presentation. And as you mentioned, Corey's email is up there, so you're welcome to follow up with him directly or with us here at Metaesthetics if you have any further questions.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.